All right, now I just need to cover the last part of the environment, just the rendering out part. I mentioned before, one of the things that I had an issue with is that when I rendered mine out, I was not getting the animation of any of my stuff. Open mine. Island. Oh, that's my demo one. I want my other one. That one. All right, so one of the things you might have to do on these, and this is just a weird thing that happened, is my stuff just stopped working. Like it would work if I like jumped to the frame. It would show all my bricks in the air, and then I would rewind and it would do this. But when I rewound it and then hit play, nothing would happen. It would just stay there. And I don't know, maybe I clicked something, maybe it's the software. I'm going to blame the software. But I had to delete my fields and just remake them. So if that happens to you, delete the fields and remake it. Another thing to try is you can also go under your tags for this item, under MoGraph, and you can do a MoGraph cache. This is very similar to like a dynamics cache. If something is dynamic and falling and breaking and whatever else, this basically writes out what those things are supposed to do to the hard drive, so there's no guessing involved, okay? So you just add it to anything that has MoGraph and then hit bake. And then once that's done, it's locked in, okay? So I would check, make sure Forest 1, does Forest 1 work? Yes, it works. And then I would go to Forest 2, go in here to my MoGraph tags, cache it, bake that too. If I make any changes, I need to go and clear the cache. Like if I don't like something, I would clear it so I can make changes, and then I would bake it again, okay? Baking is typically the last thing you do. Like everything is good, I like the way it looks, you bake it, and then you're off running. I don't need to bake this one because it just seemed to work without it. Things to consider for this one. Ambient occlusion, having this on in your render settings makes your scene look nicer. Like I showed before, having that shadow, that contact shadow where those two items are touching, makes it look better. All I do is change this to physical. I go to effect, and I go to ambient occlusion, which is not in this list because I've already added it. Okay. Under physical, if I turn motion blur on, this can make things look nice. This can also make things take forever. So if you're getting like 10, 15 minutes a frame, just turn motion blur off. We won't worry about motion blur for this one. If you're going to put it in your portfolio, turn it on and let it chug for like a week and a half, and then it'll turn out pretty good. You'll be incredibly surprised at how well just adding simple things like motion blur or depth of field add to your scene. Same thing with like depth of field, you could add that too. If you're going to do both of these, then do them both at the same time. Just let it go for a week or 2 weeks, whatever it takes. And then for our quality, all we have to do is set this to high, and then we'll get a high quality rendering. Okay. Under my save area, under my output area, I'm going to go to all frames. Make sure this is 960 by 540. That's good. Go to the save area. I'm getting regular image here. You'll get regular image. You'll set this to name.number.extension. Every movie you do will have name.number.extension. And then I changed mine to OpenEXR. Other suitable ones are TIFF, Targa. Don't do JPEG. TIFF, Targa, or OpenEXR are typically the three that I would say I would recommend using. If you're not familiar with OpenEXR, then don't use it. Just use TIFF or Targa. I did with an alpha channel. If I wanted to change my coloration later, I can jump in and change the coloration of the background after. I also have this, which is multipass. I would just leave that. Just another fun tip to kind of point out is that you can actually save your Cinema 4D file as a compositing file that you could bring into After Effects. And what that would allow you to do is, let's say instead of everything blowing away, everything stayed there, our camera just flies over the environment, and I want to do like little call outs to show different parts of it. If I do this, it'll actually send my camera into After Effects, and then I could have like a piece of text tied to one of my items, and as the camera's moving, it's linked to that item. So it's like connected to it. You'll see those things if you watch videos online. All right, cool. So this is my video. I would say close this. I would hit either Shift-R and let it render, or in my case, because I was having that issue, I found that I had to go to Add to Render Queue. Okay? Do you want to save? Yes, go ahead and save. Let me delete the other ones I had in there before. The way this works is you just pick your camera. So this is animated camera because that's what I was on. Pick where it's going, and then you just say go. Click the button and it'll chug a little preview inside this window. When it's done, it'll say it's done. Okay, and then it works. You take that just like we've done before, bring in After Effects, make it into a movie, and that's it. Okay. For the still image for this one, this is going to be, the output will be 3,000, not 30,000, by 2,400. I'm going to make a new camera because I don't want to use this animated camera. And I'm just going to find a cool angle for this. Okay, you might want to do it where things are like blowing up like that. That might be a cool way to kind of show it off. Maybe I want to, let me actually go into a camera. So just make a new camera, go into it. Let me change my focal length to, let's say 80. Maybe just on my still because I didn't have time to render out everything with the motion blur and depth of field. I need to hide my grid. Control D. Where is it? I can't find anything when I have my windows all squished. Well, whatever. It's there somewhere. All right, let me go to my camera. Let me go to physical. Let me go to f-stop. And physical, yes, there we go. Depth of field. And I'm just going to hit Control-R so it previews right here and doesn't open up my other window. And I'm also going to take my sampling quality down to low so that that happens a lot faster. There we go. So it's way too blurry, so then I'll just start taking, oops, I didn't set my focus point, that's why. Click the focus distance, that stuff. All right, definitely too fuzzy, back to physical, back to here, maybe 0.5. There we go. Maybe a little bit more, let's say 2. And you'll see just a little bit of depth of field on it goes a long way. You can see those are definitely fuzzier than they were a few minutes ago. They were pretty clear. So that looks pretty good like that. I like that. That's good. All right. I'd also add motion blur. And again, I'm just kind of previewing it, setting it up, previewing, setting it up. All right, that's good. Now that everything's good, I would turn this back to high. I would go to my output, make sure I'm only rendering my current frame. And then I could hit Shift-R and then let it calculate. And again, it's just one of those things that it needs time. So you walk away, you come back when it's like started rendering, then you can look at it and see what it looks like. If it doesn't work, you cancel it out, you fix stuff, and then you go back to it. Maybe your shadows are too dark from this camera angle, so I'd jump back and I'd fix my shadows. I did see that they were probably a little bit too dark. So again, I would probably go back and adjust them. I would either lighten them. Let's cancel that. Find my lights. They're in here somewhere. My physical sky, that's where all my lighting's coming from. And sun. Here's my shadows. There's the density. So kick it down to 50. And then render it again. Now my shadows will be 50% less dark, which means they'll be brighter, which means they won't be as like in the way as they were before. All right, now once this is done, it's saving this to environment_take1_1_0071. I recommend after it is done that you save as and actually put it with the file name you want in the exact spot you want. That way you know it's not going to get overwritten. If I hit Shift-R again, it overwrites that file. Okay? Like if I were just to, let's say this one is done, I hit Shift-R, it would overwrite with whatever this one is as to start back over from scratch. Okay? I guess I want to stop. Let me just take this back down to low settings so we can see this again. Oops. Now, one of the things I would do, and this isn't something you have to do, but if you want your stuff to be good, I would take my still image into Photoshop and I would adjust it. Look at my hue and saturation, look at my colors, my levels, my curves, add a vignette to it. Any of those things can enhance your image. It's not just about I hit the render button and now I have an image. It's about creating that image, creating what it's supposed to look like. And all of those things make it look better. Can make it look better, not always. Depends on if you can control what you're doing. There we go. So now that looks pretty sweet how that's going to be set up. The size of this is going to be really good where I'm going to be able to see a lot of detail with this. And if I needed to print it up like on one of those, it would print pretty good as well. I would do the same thing in After Effects. If I bring a video in After Effects, I adjust the coloring, hue and saturation, the curves. Typically I'll put a vignette on things because I like vignettes. All right, so I'm going to let that chug along. And then when you turn in your stuff, same process as we've talked about before. Only give me what I need. So this is my environment. I don't need any of the rendered images. Those are just yours to make the movie. Don't turn them in. Delete them, move them to a different folder, whatever you want to do. I do need the latest scene. So the latest scene, nicely organized. And then if you have any references here, you put those there. Your movie, I don't know why I don't have a final folder. What happened there? I would put my movie inside here, put my still inside there. I am seeing that people sometimes aren't naming stuff with their name. Put your name on it. If I can't find your work, I go to the main folder and I type in your name here. That's not your name, but that's what I would type in. Okay? And if I don't see those things, then I can't find your stuff. If everyone's stuff is named environment, everyone's environment comes up. All right, so that'll wrap up this assignment. It's not something that is, in portfolio-wise, isn't ever going to be completed. You can always come back to it and adjust and add more stuff to it. So you just want to have a good amount in here, render it out, and then we'll move on to the next one. Questions? No questions.